Hello everyone and welcome. Make a cup of your favorite drink and get comfortable because this is a wonderful time for news stories from Yellow Cat. Send your own stories in the comments below and maybe they'll be in our new video. What's your best I got fired on the spot story? I worked at Tiger Direct. I got fired 30 minutes after the store closed as soon as the investigation ended. Someone stole a laptop. They blamed me. Not for stealing it, but for aiding the thief. This was false. I gave the laptop to the cashier and told her it was for that guy. The guy slipped out of line and said, "I forgot one other thing." Came back with a monitor box and placed it beside the laptop to hide it away from the cashier's point of view. While she was cashing other people out, he swiped the laptop, walked up the greeter at the door, and said, "This is my laptop, I was just getting it repaired." The greeter let him go, and off he went on his merry way. Tiger Direct does not have barcode door detectors. The greeter also got fired at the end of the shift, and he was rehired 5 months later because he has Down syndrome and was going to sue the store. F that place. That was my first infraction and was there for 2 years as a service technician. Selling laptops wasn't even my job. I was doing the salesman a favor. The same thing would have happened to anyone, but because I touched the laptop, I was automatically labeled as an aid in theft. Unemployment insurance saw through my boss's BS reasoning and compensated me for 9 months of same-wage pay. Win. Not me, but a friend. He worked at Target, which we all probably know has a khaki pants and red shirt dress code. His manager got in his case about his salmon or not red enough shirt and told him to wear red and khaki the next day. The next day, he shows up in red pants and a khaki shirt. Fired on the spot. Wasn't fired, quit. I was hired as an IT worker for a medium-sized business. Not my field, but I learned enough about it acquiring my degree to make do. Passed pre-employment drug test, passed background check, started work on Monday. After meeting some people and receiving some documentation, I began learning the ropes from another guy in the department. Suspiciously, the IT manager had told me that they had a jacket policy which required me to hang my jacket up all the way down the hall near the owner's office. Never mind the fact that all of the other guys in IT had their jackets near their workstations. Not thinking too far into this, I oblige. After about 45 minutes of learning some of the logistics of the department, the HR woman who hired me asked to borrow me for a minute. Does anybody else hate these phrases? I followed her to the IT manager's office to find my jacket splayed over a chair in post-search fashion. She informed me that they were concerned that I was under the influence of alcohol or drugs. She listed 4 things. 1, I drank water from the drinking fountain. 2, my lips seemed dry. 3, I appeared agitated. 4, my pupils were dilated. In my head, 1, I require H2O to survive. 2, it is winter in the Midwest. 3, it is my first day in a corporate environment filled with folks who I don't know in the slightest. 4, turned out to be a lie upon inspection. They informed me that company policy was for me to take a drug/alcohol test immediately. I hold my tongue, other than expressing surprise, and go take the tests. HR woman drives me to a clinic. Negative prelim assessment. She informs me that I can continue work when I get back. I reply, "Oh, I'll be resigning when we get back." Silent car rides. Get into the building, head up to the IT manager's office, and inform him that I have passed the drug test but will be resigning. Something along the lines of not wanting to become part of an environment where the level of trust is so low, a poisonous atmosphere, if you will. Effing people. Put them into a corporate structure and they become overly suspicious, backstabbing autonomous bees. I've had jobs from labor and sales to research and development. I have never once been accused of being so much as hung over by a superior, not to say that I never showed up to a shift a bit a headache. The jacket was clean. They didn't find anything in it. I just found it strange that they tricked me into hanging it up out of the IT department so they could search it. When I was 21, I worked at a cheesy hotel resort in Phoenix. I had to hustle drinks from the restaurant/bar at the top floor of the 10-story resort to the people at the pool, ground floor, obviously. It was a pretty fun job, actually. I got a lot of exercise, the customers were pretty fun/drunk/having a good time, I spent most of my time outside, and I made really good tips. I wasn't too fond of my boss, though. She seemed really immature, harping, vain, just kind of county. But whatever, people are people. One day, I had to serve about 8 women. They were kind of like sorority girls. They got wasted and were super mean to me, made fun of my uniform, made fun of me, would purposefully run me by massively staggering their orders, laughing hysterically every time. And of course, they stiffed me completely. 0 tip. Bad day at the office for me. The next day, I went into work and my boss fired me for stealing money from those chicks. I didn't steal a thing. I was floored. They told her that I'd left with money and didn't come back with the change, like $15. I'd never do that. Anyway, she wouldn't give me my last paycheck until I gave her the stolen money. She was such a total jerk about it too. I went to the bank and got $15 in pennies. I came back into the office and grabbed my last paycheck out of her hand and threw the pennies all over her office. I tried to run out, but she grabbed me by my hair. I got free, but lost a chunk of hair in the process. I'd like to say that it felt great, but it didn't. I went home and cried about losing a job that I liked and the injustice of the world. This was 20 years ago. This is kind of cheating because, well, here goes. So, I was the only male waiter on the entire staff of a new Japanese restaurant that had just opened in my hometown, Rusan's, in a couple of cities in the south. I won't specify which. I had been working there for a few weeks, and the owner was still working there every day to make sure the place got up and running to his satisfaction. I hadn't had much interaction with him aside from exchanging pleasantries in Japanese. All the female managers painted a picture of him as a tyrannical a-hole, and we were all terrified to pee him off. He was very traditional in a lot of ways, wrote poetry and did sumi-e paintings, among other traditional arts. His wife was also working, a middle-aged, bird-faced, bleach blonde with a shrill voice and a drinking problem. She had a tendency to get in the way and keep me from properly doing my job. One very busy night, I am waiting tables, skillfully and unobtrusively is my wont, and she kept following me, giving me suggestions. I go up to greet a table of 6 I had just taken, and as I'm attempting to take their drink orders, she flaps up and starts shrieking, "Make sure you get their drink orders! Are you getting their drink orders? Call! Finally decided that I don't care about the job anymore and that she is driving me nuts. I take a wad of service napkins, hurl them directly in her face, and yell, "Shut the F up and let me do my GD job!" I go outside and await the inevitable. Rusan comes outside, sits next to me, and lights up. Looking in the middle distance, he sighs and says, "What did the effing bee do to you now?" Long story short, Rusan turns out to be a total sexist in the traditional Japanese manner. Managers and wife get beat out and told to stop using his name to scare me and leave me alone, as a woman has no place ordering a man around. I got to keep my job and I never got bothered again. Worked for a video game store in 2004. I made a whopping $6 an hour. Someone stole a $50 game during my shift. The next day, the manager tried to make me and another coworker reimburse him for the full $50, even though the manager paid way less to stock it. I told my boss, just because someone stole from you doesn't give you the right to steal from me. A few minutes later, my job was stolen from me. The manager was also the owner. It was locally owned and not GameStop/EB, etc. The stolen game in question was Fable. My coworker paid his $25 portion of the $50 and got to keep his job. The name of the store was called Video Game Exchange. My first IT job 24 years ago. I worked at a mom and pop shop. Had started full-time 3 months ago. My manager goes to lunch and the boss comes in. Tells me he wants to work every Saturday now, was working every other. I tell him I can't. He says I better look for another job then. I say, "Are you firing me?" He says yes. I say, "Thank you," leave and drive right to the unemployment office. Meanwhile, my manager comes back from lunch and sees signs in the window. Help wanted, computer tech. He says to the owner, "Where's Laura Moore?" Flash forward 20 years and I'm senior level security guy, still good friends with the former manager and owner since ran his business in the ground. Me, a busboy standing at restaurant window staring out moodily at a rainy day, no customers. Boss's wife, "Rinip, go clean the stoves. We aren't paying you to just stand around." Me, at $1.65 an hour, you aren't paying me to do much of anything. Fired on the spot. And yes, minimum wage in California was $1.65 when I was 17. Not me, but a friend. He worked in the same GameStop I did. It was the weekend the Xbox 360 Slim came out. He was scheduled to work that night and the next morning completely alone. He ended up having something in the neighborhood of 160 people requesting trade-ins. Obviously, we didn't have the inventory, plus people just streaming in the front door. He finally snapped, told everyone to get out, locked the doors, and left the keys on the counter. We had a good laugh about that one. Not me, but a friend was working in downtown Indy on the 45th floor. He was in IT. Out of the clear blue on a Friday, they fire him for some made-up S. He cleared out his cubicle of personal items and left, determined to go to his neighborhood pub and tie one on. They have a cafeteria on the 40th floor, and having worked there for 8 years, he had gotten to know the people, so he stopped in to say bye. He saw some other people taking an early lunch at the cafeteria that he knew from the 38th floor. They saw his box of personal items and figured out he had been fired. A quick discussion and impromptu job interview was set up. He was hired on the spot to start Monday. Didn't even have to take his personal stuff home. The best was Monday morning when he got on the elevator with his old boss who asked, "Where are you going?" "To work," he replied. "Like H you are," the old boss retorted. "I fired you Friday, don't you get that?" "Hey, I didn't say I was going to work for you, a-hole," was my friend's response. Priceless. I have a similar one. I quit because of our dip SVP that was totally effing over all of us on commissions by basically making them unattainable due to our workload and expectations. So, us that were still there were handed basically 4 times the workload with half the resources and were eyebrow deep in S. That Friday, I quit with no notice. Didn't care about not getting unemployment or anything. I just wanted out. I got hired the next week and the job was right down the street from the other office. I see the VP in the gas station on the corner my first week on the new job, and he smirks at me in my casual clothes. Old job was shirt, tie, new job was jeans and polo, and says something along the lines of, "Wow, good to see you're unemployed and keeping busy." I calmly reply, "You're right. Working for someone that knows what they're doing, dressing comfortably, and getting paid double is tough." Gave the finger while telling him to go F yourself and walked away. Feels good, man. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing, the likes, and the comments. See you in the next video.